Om Asato Ma Satkamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Mother bless us all. Hold our hand, guide us across to this beautiful journey. Today, we have a very dynamic topic, and that topic is our real nature. And this name of the topic came about from Swami Vivekananda's one lecture called Man's Real Nature, which is there in Jnana Yoga of Swami Vivekananda. You notice the bylaws of all the religion, particularly for, let's say, Ramakrishna Mission, Swami Vivekananda. It talks about that to study Upanishads and Vedanta and discover the power of the inner divinity in every human being. In simple line, Vivekananda's words are preach into the mankind their inner divinity. You and I, we have that inner divinity. And second part of his, he says 2 sentences can tell my life. First, preach into the mankind about their inner divinity. And second sentence is manifest it in every walk of life. And what was the journey which Swami Vivekananda took it up as a disciple of Paramahansa Ramakrishna? But a similar journey Paramahansa Yogananda took up 20 years later. And Philip Goldberg is writing on American Veda, a beautiful book. Both are with me. Sundays when you come, if you like to, you can have a look at them. In American Veda, he says that the America's knowledge, Veda is knowledge. American knowledge is from the Swami Vivekananda's present and giving to the world of those 4 yogas: Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. And he goes on to say also by Paramahansa Yogananda, the Americans picked up their knowledge from the 2 Indians, our great masters. What was Vivekananda's message? Vivekananda talked about harmony between religion, not just any religion, but the world religion, all religion, and reason, logic, science. Harmony between the world of religion, reason, logic, and science, and harmony within Vedanta. The bylaws of the Ramakrishna Mission goes ahead and says to study and preach into the mankind, teach them, share with them. Yours and our journey is towards that, is the knowledge, the devotion with meditation and 4 yogas. And this is what we are doing. And the more and more that we take in, I begin to realize how blessed we are that we could study and understand a little bit of the Vedanta. You know what? The fact that you and I are knowing a little bit about Vedanta, tiny particles, is the ocean of knowledge. Even the tiny particle. And we, you and I, are dying of thirst. What is dying of thirst? Dying of the knowledge how to get out of suffering and sickness and disease and COVID-19. That is thirst, trying to know. But right behind, I am sitting and digging in front of me in the sand, little bit of water to drink. And right behind me is the ocean of Vedanta, knowledge of the Upanishad, Brahma Sutra, and Bhagavad Gita. Vedanta is Brahma Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, and Upanishads. It's right behind us, you and me, and we know so little. We are divinely blessed. And this is why Isha Upanishad is talking about Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamiva Vashishyate. From that whole completeness, the Purna, takes birth Purna. When you take away Purna from Purna, Purna alone remains, and that's what is yours and my nature. But we associate, you and I, with this name and the body and the form and the mind. The moment we give ourselves mind and our body a name and think, this is me, man or woman, young or old, we limit ourselves. But this infinite knowledge, it's there. And in this, our real nature, where Swami Vivekananda, the nature, man's real nature, it talks about our real nature. Let us discover a little bit. Before we do that, I would like you to be introduced to a very powerful book. It's a French philosopher, and his name, the book's name is Theory of Western Thought. Name of the author is Luc Ferry, a French author. He was the Ministry of Education in France, and he goes ahead and writes, amongst others, this book. The power of this book, it comes out with the three solutions, and Vivekananda in his talk, in which he's talking about man's real nature, he starts with the word death. Cheerful note, no? And notice, Luc Ferry is talking about three things. First is theoria. What is theoria? It's actually this theo. Theoria, theo means nothing else but man's, that means the ultimate reality. Ultimate reality is theos. And orao means to see. In other words, theoria means to see the ultimate reality. And what struck me as I hear and read about it and listen to Swamiji's, that darshana, which is Indian philosophy, is the name darshana. It means exactly to see the reality. Whereas we were told philosophy. Philosophy comes from the word Philadelphia. It talks about to think. And if you recollect, our philosophy teachers used to tell us, Western philosophy and Indian darshan are different. They are not same. Because philosophy talks about to think, the value system, and the ethos. And Indian philosophy is to see the reality, the real nature, the ultimate reality. Ultimate reality to see is the darshana, which is same as theoria. It took me so many years to now understand that actually the Western theoria, which is the Western philosophical thought, is the same as the Indian darshana. It is misrepresented by the word is philosophy. And he talks about, that is theory is the first point, Luc Ferry. Second, he is talking about that ethics. It is what is good and what is bad in our life. We should study that. In his book, he's talking about that. What follows from the second is, what do we do about it? What is good, what is bad, and what do we do go about it? And what is really good? What is really bad for you and I to understand? The third point, he goes ahead and talks about towards salvation, freedom. And towards freedom, he is talking about how to confront death and thinking about death. And notice, this is what Vivekananda talked about. The first thing he talked about, tackling with the death. If you look carefully, Carl Jung said the same thing. That the beautiful dialogue was there between him and there is another Swami, Pavitrananda. In a psychology of philosophy, he says, Carl Jung says, and which he talked about Swami Pavitrananda, that in my study, the most psychopathic, when I look at the pathology, speciality in the middle-aged people, is because of that fear of death. That psychopaths, the problem for those psychopaths is nothing is from middle-aged onward, the fear of death. Young people do not think. I was in the Air Force. I never thought about death. I did such thing. Couldn't believe of it today. No fear of death. And it's because this fear of death, we do not see it. We do not see it. We do not want to see it, but it haunts us. Ernest Becker, another beautiful writer, he's talking about in the denial of death. In his book, he's writing that in humanity, we are haunted by the fear of death. Ernest Becker saying what Vivekananda talked, Carl Jung talked, Swami Pavitrananda talked, he's talking about the same thing. In humanities, we are haunted by the fear of death. You might say, I don't think about death. The Western philosophers, Western psychologists will say that is even worse. You're suppressing it. You say, no, I never think of it. I am beyond it. They say that's even worse. It's going to come up once again. So the immortality project by gluten-free diet starts up, and creating children, understanding religion, let's say the immortality project and responses, let's say, to the deep settled fear of death, from having kids to writing books to the art of creation of virtual art, to humanity, to founding institutions, organizations, big factories, big companies, to making discovery of religion. They all are talking about we want to keep ourselves immortal. And that's how we go ahead and proceeding. This is what Ernest Becker is talking about. All of these are nothing but responses to the fear of death. He goes on to say that it does exist. Swami Vivekananda says what? Everybody dies. He says saints die, sinners die, kings die, beggars die. The learned dies and the ignorant dies. Everybody dies. Everybody dies. Saints die, sinners die, kings die, beggars die. And the learned dies and the ignorant also die. Everybody dies. Death is celebration, not fear. And the moment you go beyond this is the time you truly come across to our real nature. So, this fear of death, what happens to this? All that there is? What happens to all that there is right now when we die? What is after death? And in Katha Upanishad, Nachiketa asked this to the Lord of Death, Yamraj. Same question. What happens after death? And this is what is our question to understand our real nature. What is beyond death? Till this Sunday, think about it, reflect on it, do a little research, do a little reading. There is a beautiful book by Graham Greene that is, I will share with you on Sunday. Until the End of This World. Powerful book. What happens beyond death? Our prayers to the Divine Mother of the Universe, Jagat Guru, Kalpa Yogi Mahavatar Babaji, the Deathless Master, Sri Sri Krishna, Yogakshema Vaham Vaham. Whatever we pray and whatever is in our mind, Krishna will grant it to us. Surrender. So notice, on one hand, we are holding on to Vedanta. Paramahansa Ramakrishna Vivekananda Guru said, if you tie up in your Anchal, in the Anchal, Vedanta, after that do whatever you like. So let's you and I tie up that Vedanta. Discover a little bit, reflect and think. Jai Guru.